This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse 1. It says, Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, and the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Badash, and double honor to my teachers, the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule and teach well, who I learned this truth from, and peace and salutations to the elect that scattered across the four corners of the planet Earth, pushing his truth and sincerity and meekness without wavering, as well as risking their life and freedom to do so. This is your brother ICR from the GMS Cleveland Church, and I'm back with another lesson, and Lord willing, it is edifying to one of the Lord's elect, and I'm just gonna let this video play. Um, you know, where because this video and it says 144 right here called Lord Yahweh Shai. So Lord willing, this lesson is edifying, and it's gonna go into the keepers of the house, which will be known as the economists or the treasurers of today's society. Okay, so as you see, this is from um what is this channel redacted with Natalie and Clayton Morris. It says nobody is prepared for what's about to happen to the U.S. economy, and I was just watching a video from Kim Iverson, and she was interviewing the dude Dave Hodges. That's he has the the common sense show, and he was saying how America as a society is going to collapse on Memorial Day, roughly paraphrasing, or the July 4th, I forget which one, because of this war with Iran. And you see all these economists, okay, they're talking about this war, how it's pretty much going to bankrupt and drive society, specifically the United States of America, to its last end. All right, things are going to increase heavily, okay, and the time's approaching us, man. So it says nobody's prepared for what's about to happen to the U.S. economy, right? So let's check this out.
Well, Americans keep hearing that inflation is under control, the economy is strong, but for millions of people, it doesn't feel that way at all. Grocery prices are sky high, insurance costs are soaring, and Americans are now carrying massive amounts of credit card debt. New report out this week showing delinquencies up to an all-time high. Families are increasingly relying on debt just to keep up with everyday living expenses. At the same time, investors right now are watching precious metals markets closely as concerns continue to grow over inflation, the weakening purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. Hell, Alaska just became the latest state to now allow gold and silver as a legal tender in that state, moving away from even U.S. states are moving away from the U.S. dollar. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve appears trapped between trying to fight inflation, trying to prevent a deeper economic slowdown right now. Consumers are feeling
Right, because the U.S. dollar is not backed by anything, and you can blame President uh, Nixon. Okay, I think it was during it's not during the Bretton Woods, but just look it up. Okay, America has pretty much took the dollar from being backed by gold. Okay, and that caused you people to just carry around paper money, fiat currency, which holds no value. And a lot of these bankers, and as he said, a lot of these states, the United States, okay, some of these states that are a part of Babylon the Great, they're ditching the dollar and they're going to tangible and precious metals, man. You see, and that's called real money. All right, that's called real money. Abraham, when you read Genesis, the 12th chapter. It talks about how he had land, cattle, slaves, gold, silver. Okay, that's real money right there. That's called wealth. That's called riches, not a stack of dead white men. All right, on the face of your money. That's not real money, man. It's called a debt bearing note. Okay, a IOU. All right. So let's keep playing.
Squeezed from every direction. Heck, Costco just rolled out new buckets of wine. Yeah, but that's how bad things are getting because like new lockdowns are probably coming, so they're gonna sell buckets of wine now. What the hell is going on? We have a lot to unpack today in the U.S. economy. So many moving pieces, and I know someone who watches it very, very closely is our good friend Kevin Demerit. He's the CEO of Lear Capital, obviously very close to the precious metals markets, and that's what you guys do at Lear from silver and gold. But man, Kevin, I just want to start maybe talking about this debt right now and this latest report about credit card delinquencies. The percent of balance 90 plus days delinquent by loan type, and you can see credit cards now skyrocketing to an all-time high for delinquencies. People just putting like basic necessities on their credit cards.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the same thing we saw back in tops of markets. 1999, 2000, you saw credit card debt skyrocketing, delinquencies were skyrocketing. 2007 going into 2008, same type of thing. I think this one's a lot worse because you have the inflation part, higher interest rates, higher mortgage costs, car payments, things like that. And, there was a great story. Well, I don't know if it was a great story, but it was a story about people having to buy now, pay later, even for groceries. So you're right. They're putting it on their credit cards. They're going down to the store, buying what they need now, and then having to pay it off over 3 or 4 or 5 payments. That's the situation that we're in. But when you look around, the people who are printing money, the central banks, are buying gold. This is the biggest tell in the market to me, when the people that actually are printing our money all around the world are saying, hey, I'm not sure I trust my paper money in the bank. I kind of want to move that over and buy some gold with it. So I don't think they're anywhere near kind of tamping down inflation, and it'll be a bigger problem. At the end of this year, I think we're going to start to see, with the war and all the other printing that's been going on, that inflation is definitely not under control.
We just had a guest on this week who said, he said, I'm imploring your audience, please protect your families and get some precious metals, and make sure you own tangible things right now, because of what's coming. And I just saw a report, Warren Buffett talking about the amount of people sitting in cash on the stock market side of things, that we're seeing basically the same right around the 2008, 2007 collapse, that a lot of the smart money is moving out of the stock market into cash, waiting to deploy that capital when this all goes belly up.
Yeah, there's so many bullish cases for gold right now and silver. And look, I'm in the market, and I don't want to sound like a salesperson here, but you have central banks, you have the deficit, you have central bank buyings at record amounts. The deficits are going through the roof. You have geopolitical risks. You have currency distrust. That's a heck of a lot of fuel, directed toward, something that's an insurance policy. So can they control the inflation rates? I don't think so. I think they've. What were we in 2008? $8 trillion. We're at $39 trillion now. Going to hit 40 trillion here fairly soon. They're estimating that the deficit for next year is about 1.9 trillion. Well, they said it was going to be 1.7 trillion this past year, and we ended up with 2.6 trillion dollars in debt. So it's going to be bigger and bigger, and with $1 trillion in interest payments on that debt, it becomes harder and harder to control. And
$1 trillion in interest. Okay, and we know according to the scriptures, interest is known as usury, which is forbidden to the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. Why is it forbidden? Because it causes this. It causes people to, uh, 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 you know, have to suffer, man. You see, and who's ruling the United States of America, Babylon, and Greek? It's Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. He's the one that's in control of this place. He's the one that's uh, uh, uh got these the whole world in debt. All right, especially you Israelites, you so-called Negroes. Latinos, and Seminole Native American Indians. We already the poor of this world, man. See, now you're getting even more poor, all right? Because the devil wants to see you without nothing, and he's going to accomplish his goal. Okay, that is his goal to see you without. All right, so let's keep playing.
What people don't understand is there's a great relationship between debt and the gold price. It's a 92% correlation. So if all of us could go to Vegas and have a 92% chance of winning because of a correlation of something, we would all go and do it. So we're not really betting here. All we have to understand is that the government's not going to continue or not going to stop printing money. If you believe they're going to stop printing money, don't own any gold. If you believe they're going to continue to print money, that the interest payment is going to increase from $1 trillion and go higher, then now's the time to own some gold. Heck, I told you right before we got on, Jim Rogers today came out and said, I have sold all my US stocks.
Right.
I mean, he's been around forever. Great guy to watch, and just has completely sold everything, which is really against what his diversification strategies and everything have been for a long time. So I believe there's something coming. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it feels like there's another black swan event going to be around the corner for us at some point here.
And you can look up what a black swan event is, and I'm actually going to look that up. Black swan event. So a black swan event is an unpredictable high impact occurrence that defies normal expectations and is inappropriately rationalized in hindsight. Okay, so there is going to be an unpredictable event, which we don't know what it is. Okay, but what Esau's going to do, he's going to take that opportunity to crash this economy with that black swan event and bring in his digital currency, his new beast system. All right, that's what it's all about. He wants to bring in that beast system. Okay, this is going to be ultimate surveillance, trackable, and controllable money, which is going to be in the form of a digital currency known as the CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency. That's what he's going to bring. Okay, this is his whole agenda. This is why he's crashing the economy. Okay, when I say he, I mean the international banking firms.
Long weekend. What could be wrong with that, huh?
Yeah, man. Can't wait till it's over with, man. But yeah, the international banking firms, which we know, okay, and the whole world knows now, the Rothschilds, they want to crash the economy to bring in ultimate control, man. All right. The guy Richard Werner, okay, the German that created quantitative easing, he said they already have everybody's information on a microchip, and the way they're going to persuade you to take it is they're going to give you a $2,000 incentive known as a UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, and that's how they're going to get you to take it. See, so this is the plans of the wicked elite, man. All right, and I'm going to keep playing this video because he said a lot. All right, this is CEO of Lear Capital. Okay, he's a keeper of the house. All right, so let's keep playing.
Trying to get people to prepare with some portion of their portfolio in precious metals or some other assets that would be, a great hedge against what's coming.
Yeah, when you sent that to me, that's shocking. I mean, again, I think it kind of goes with like the Warren Buffett message as well, sitting on cash right now. And we had the person I was thinking of. We had Ronald Reagan's former financial advisor on this week on the show. Brilliant, Steve Hanke, and he said, own gold and silver right now. Watch what these central banks are doing right now to protect your family. One of his big things is, though, these tariffs have been absolutely devastating, and hopes that they'll be reversed soon. He's not the only one, not the only economist. You have Thomas Sowell and many others out there, Peter Schiff and others who've
All right, let's
These
keep playing.
tariffs have
Sorry,
been
Salaki, I'm at
debilitating
work,
for the United
so I'm
States
gonna
right
be in
now.
and
And
out.
so you're seeing this inflation going higher. You're seeing the mortgage rates now approaching that 7% range again, which is, so let's talk about housing.
Yeah, and and it's a spirit because everybody's facing foreclosure, bankruptcy, and evictions because of these interest rates, man. You know, uh, starting in 2020, interest rates went up, man. They went up to damn 7% and even more higher. And years later, people are not able to keep up with their payments. Okay, all right. And what's that causing? Hey, look, the so-called black woman. It was an article out. It says single black women are outpacing single black males and buying homes. All right, but they don't tell you that so-called black woman is foreclosing on these homes and getting evicted, man. See, they don't tell you that. All right, so that's the state of the people. When I say state, that's the condition of what people are going through here in the United States of America. All right, let's keep playing.
You know housing very, very well. You're not you and I both, we talk offline about real estate all the time because we're both involved in that world deeply. Mortgage rates heading up towards 7 again. And since this Iran war started, it's kind of frozen everything. The housing market in the United States right now is just totally frozen. People can't afford to move. Older people are staying in their homes for longer now. Entire neighborhoods are changing. They're closing elementary schools because older people just are saying, hey, we're not going to move. We're locked into these lower interest rates that we had, 5-6 years ago. We're not moving. So talk a little bit about housing, mortgage rates, and inflation, all of that like package. What is your assessment?
Yeah, I think most of the markets out there, in my opinion, are completely overvalued. I mean, the stock market looks overvalued to me. A lot of the real estate market, it's not a bubble, but it feels like it's a little bit overvalued. I had a woman in my office a few days ago, and we were purchasing an apartment building. She was a notary, and she says, "Hey, look, I have a building. Do you want to purchase my duplex?" And I said, "Well, what do you got?" And she says, "Well, I live in one of them. I'll move out. You can raise rent." And she says, the tough part is that my interest rate on this is 3.5% on a commercial building, right? So she's stuck. It's either sell it. She can't refinance and pull any money out because the minute she does that, she's going to be at 7%. So she gets nowhere. And that's where a lot of people are. I'm in my house, I'm making my payment. If I sell this house and I move someplace else, what is my payment going to be? Not only that, what is my tax payment going to be on that house? So you've got all these.
See, taxes, man. Taxes and interest is what's killing today's society, man. All right, and that's what caused the Roman Empire to collapse. All right, which we know the United States of America is Rome all over again. They're following the same steps as the Roman Empire, man. All right, but their fall is going to be way greater than it was back then. All right, so she went from people are scared to sell, refinance, or dig into their equity or whatever it may be because the mortgage their interest rate is going to go, it's going to double. See, so it's like a lose lose here, man. See what I'm saying? This place has to go. It has to go, and it is going. All right.
Negatives where people are kind of stuck in their homes or stuck in their apartment buildings, and it's very difficult to make really logical strategic moves in real estate right now, with where interest rates are. And I think it's going to get a little worse, not better. I think inflation picks up a little bit, and when you're looking at Jamie Dimon talking about, hey, gold, in our opinion, is going to be $6,000 to $6,300 an ounce, and he starts talking about why, he's talking about inflation. He said you can forget everything else. Inflation is the reason that gold's going to continue to go up, but it's also the reason that the markets potentially look overvalued. You increase interest rates on real estate, and real estate doesn't get more value, but gets less valuable. Now, if inflation is ahead of that, then the real estate's going to get more valuable. But if you're kind of stuck in the stagflation, which is, I think, where we are, then nothing's really moving. Real estate feels expensive. A new report came out and said now is the time to go rent, because if you buy and you add up all the costs, it'd probably be better to rent right now. So I think real estate's just kind of in this no man's land, and that's where a lot of investments are going to be with stagflation. But it makes it very difficult to make any strategic moves and really make a profit. In the real estate market if you're starting off right now. I mean, there's always good deals somewhere, but it makes it difficult from a global standpoint.
I mentioned at the top Alaska becoming the latest state to now take gold and silver as a way to transact in currency outside of the U.S. dollar. Economists are saying the U.S. dollar is going to collapse and will be replaced by gold and silver. When they say that, what do they mean?
Well, look, there's been 7 nations with the world's reserve currency. Most of them lasted about 100 to 110 years. Mm-hmm. And here we are in the United States at right around that number, right about that time period. So this seems to be getting a little long in the tooth. And what collapsed every single one of those currencies was debt.
So I got a precept, he said, was debt. And this is what the Heavenly Father requires, man, right? See, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So this is the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. It says, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and the Heavenly Father required that which is past. In the NLT, it says, what is happening now has happened before. As you see, he said this has happened with the 7 global reserve empires, if you might say, kingdoms, rulers, all right? Britain, the Britain Empire, even had Germany, I believe. Okay, the Roman Empire, right? You see, it says what is happening now has happened before, and what will happen in the future has happened before, right? Because the Heavenly Father makes the same things happen over and over again, man. So America's no different, okay? Even though, it only has been ruling, okay, but as far as finances, it has been ruling since what, 1900s, okay, or 1940, 1944 with the Bretton Woods, okay. It's nearing its collapse, right? There, it's nearing its collapse, all right. The whole empire, every empire has a pound that they cannot have. Heavenly Father is not going to let Babylon the Great rule forever, have dominion forever. No, they don't go like that. They were here to set up for, rule until Yahweh Shah comes back. And we know that Heavenly Father's only begotten Son is near. All right? So let's keep playing.
Literally every one of them. It was either caused by war or an economic situation or just the government. I mean, the Roman Empire, there was so much debt. In the United States, we're now on that same path. So when you look at every one of the currency collapses for the world's reserve currency.
See, now he said America is on that same path because why? Why did he mention Rome and America in the same sentence? Because when you read Revelation 13 chapter, it says the deadly wound that was healed. Okay? And that deadly wound that was healed is talking about the United States of America, man. All right, which is ancient Rome all over again. This is why you have a Senate House, okay, not two Democratic parties, but two, how do I say it? Two political parties, Republicans and Democrats. You have plebeians and patricians back then, okay, which they voted, they voted for somebody to rule, okay, and they set up unjust laws, and they also rule by interest and taxes. I mean, interest, which is taxes, and interest, which is usury, and then you got taxes and all this bullshit, man. All right, this is why America is gonna fall, but it's gonna fall even way harder. So let's keep playing.
The debt looked like a hockey stick. It started off okay, And then you look at from 2008 at $8 trillion and today where we are at $39 trillion, that's the hockey stick. And people are getting extremely nervous. So what's the dollar going to be worth? And is there any, or are there any players out there that could take that over? Well, you got China, you've got a lot of different countries that want to do it. But when you combine the countries and you have the BRICS situation, I think that's got the best chance of possibly taking over the US dollar. You've got a real contender there. And so the states here in the United States, central banks around the world are saying, look, the dollar just is not what it used to be. They're not fiscally responsible. They're not controlling this debt. We think it's going to get worse. And so we put a whole report together on this that we can give away, at the end here, which is what JP Morgan's talking about is debt, so much debt. And it's not just the United States. It's all around the world. All of these countries are printing a bunch of money.
Right. And then, he mentioned JP Morgan. If you know the history about that company, one of the founders of the Federal Reserve, his name was JP Morgan. And now they have, you know, which they were one of the founders of the Federal Reserve. Like I said, J.P. Morgan, and it's still here today. Okay, and they still what do they control? They control the fucking Federal Reserve, man. They deal with the Federal Reserve hand in hand. So once again, the keepers of the house, they're trembling, man. All right, the Heavenly Father is about to destroy this place, man. So I'm gonna let this keep playing. All right, it's about 6 minutes left. All right, I'm gonna see because I didn't watch it fully. But I watched a couple minutes of it, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta do a lesson on this, man. Because people believe that this place is going to continue to rule, man. It's not, man. This place is on its way fucking out, man. All right, and call lawyer how about Shimmy out shop.
And so what is that going to do for the money you can't print, right? What's that going to do for the gold price? I mean, it's like your other guests are saying, you put an increased demand on a fixed supply, which is basically gold, and the increase in supply is all this paper money that's being printed. What's going to happen to the price of gold? That's JP Morgan's premise on it and where they came up with the $6,000, $6,300 projection that they have at the end of this year, by the way. And here we are at $4,500, $4,600 gold.
Yeah, I was just going to check gold prices today. That's crazy. So they're saying 6,300. That's crazy. And just looking at gold prices today, it's again, and silver also. So let's talk about silver here before we let you go, Kevin. So silver price is getting close, touching that almost $90 mark, and projections of 150. I've seen $150 an ounce from I forget who made that projection. $150 an ounce, probably. Oh, Bank of America, I think, has a $150 projection for silver. So where do you see, what's the biggest play right now? If someone wants to start investing, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, what do you recommend right now? Silver still less expensive for sure.
Well, yeah, it is. And, the gold price came down from about $5,200. Silver prices came off around $110. I kind of like them both right now. I prefer silver a little bit more. So if I was going to put a portfolio together, I would say 60-40 with the silver being 60%. Just because that market still has a 200 million ounce deficit. We're short 200 million ounces per year from the solar industry and everything else on the industrial side, plus what's happening on the investor side. But just how crazy is it? I mean, when you and I started, we were talking about silver and it was $26. And I would get people calling and saying, it's not moving, it's not moving, it's not moving. And then here we are a few years later at almost $90 an ounce and, the high of $115 an ounce. So I think the silver market over the next couple of years, Bank of America is probably right. About $150 an ounce would cause the silver industry to then mine some more silver. So here's the biggest problem in silver, Clayton, is 80% of the silver that's mined comes from mines that don't mine silver. They mine gold and silver's a byproduct. They mine aluminum and silver's a copper, whatever it is. That's a byproduct. 20% of the mines actually mine silver for the specific reason of just mining silver. So when you have this increase in demand, 80% of the market doesn't care what the price is because it's just a byproduct. It's not their business. Only the 20% So you get a high enough price, and that 20% will then start, producing some more silver,
Hold
creating
on
more
one
mines, which are
second.
incredibly expensive, and they take.
Rico. Rico. Yeah. Uh, fucking
3 to
Edomite.
5 years
You know,
minimum just to even get the mine up.
of course I ain't Steve, bitch. Hey, I'm tired of you fucking Edomites, man. Fat lord, man. I can't wait to put these devils in chains.
Not even running, just get through the process with the governments
Like,
and so on
like,
and so
Salakia, man. I have to rant. You see, I'm in a fucking work truck. What the fuck you think? Why do you need my name? You see, I'm in a fucking work truck, man. You fucking idiots, man. You Edomites have to go into captivity, man. You're the reason why this world is how it is today, man. You're the reason why people are suffering and everything.
forth. So you have this
Wow.
supply constraint with this ever increasing demand because green energy is not going away. So solar is probably going to continue. Where's that price have to be? It just looks too low at 90 and about right at 150.
Well, I'm glad I continue to buy it. So I think my portfolio with Natalie and I, it's about 60-40. We continue to buy about 60% silver, 40% gold. And that's what we do with our kids as well, making sure that they're protected. And every month we meet, we grab the kids, even if they want to go out and play with their friends. We're like, you're going to sit down and we're going to show you the portfolio here, understand the purchases of silver, understand how this all works, and trying to educate them on that. And I hope people do, because the U.S. dollar is in a free fall right now. So people can get that report. Yeah, you mentioned a report that people can grab if they want to go to learredacted.com. And they can also call you as well to get this free $6,300 gold report that you guys put together. How can people call you?
Yeah, just give us a call at 1-800-613-3557, 800-613-3557. And we always do something special, for your program. So anybody who calls, we still give away the $500 in account credits that you can use if you wanted to create an IRA. We pay all the IRA fees with the credit, shipping and handling, and the insurance to get metals.
And I'm gonna close out with that, man. As you see, man, this place is on its way out. So call Lord Yahweh Shimi Shah, which are the true names of the Heavenly Father and the only begotten Son. Those names will be magnified when this place is hit by thermonuclear missiles. Thus said the Holy Scriptures, man. All right. So I want to say, call Lord Yahweh Shimi Shah, give me the inspiration for this lesson, and double honor to my teachers, the head apostles and elders, great millstone, teach will, and peace and salutations to the elect. Kwam Yashar Allah Shalom, Wa